Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Okay, we started with this classification of quadrilaterals. Okay, in the previous video we discussed what is quadrilateral, and we tried to classify quadrilaterals. Okay, in the previous video we observed that these quadrilaterals are classified into three broad types based on the fact how many different pairs of opposite sides are parallel in a quadrilateral. Okay, so we saw that quadrilaterals are of three types. Number first is parallelogram, in which we observed that both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Number second is trapezium. Okay, we will discuss it in some more detail. Okay, in trapezium we observed that only one pair of opposite sides is parallel. Then number third is kite. Okay, in which we will see that none of the sides are parallel. None of the pairs of the sides are parallel, right? So okay, then we explained this parallelogram in some detail. Okay, we discussed the properties of parallelogram. If you remember those properties, that opposite sides are equal, opposite sides are parallel, and diagonals bisect each other. Okay, then we try to modify the parallelogram into different quadrilaterals. First, what we did, we modified the parallelogram. This is a parallelogram in which you can see that diagonals are not equal. Okay, opposite sides are equal and opposite sides are parallel, right? Okay, we modified this parallelogram with respect to angles. Okay, with respect to angles we modified it, and we get another type of a quadrilateral, what is called as rectangle. We also discussed the properties of rectangles. Okay, we will revise each and everything at the end of this topic. Okay, now today let's talk about the another type of a rectangle. Another type of a quadrilateral, that is a rhombus. See, say for example, this is a parallelogram. Okay, so this is a parallelogram. You can see this is a parallelogram, right? Okay, both the pairs of sides are parallel, right? Okay, this side is parallel to this. Okay, let's modify this parallelogram. With respect to the sides. Okay, so what I will do, I will push this this parallelogram, okay, towards inner side. So what I will get the quadrilateral like this. Okay, so what is the difference between these two? There is the only difference that in this type of a quadrilateral, opposite sides are equal and parallel. But in this type of a quadrilateral, what we see is that all the sides are equal. This side is equal to this, and this side is equal to this, and you can see that this side is also parallel to this side, and this side is also parallel to this side. So what I did, I modified the parallelogram by pushing it towards inner side, right? Okay, and I got different type of a quadrilateral, what is called as rhombus. So this different type of quadrilateral, what is called as rhombus, we get it from parallelogram. So we can say that every rhombus is a parallelogram. Right? Every rhombus is a parallelogram. So what are the various properties of this rhombus? So let's talk about the properties. Of rhombus. So number first is opposite angles. See, opposite angles are equal. This angle is equal to this, and this angle is equal to this. Okay, this property, the rhombus got this property from the parallelogram. Opposite angles are equal, right? Opposite angles are equal. So this is first property of rhombus. And number second, see, observe it is diagonals. Okay, diagonals bisect each other. If you can observe, okay, let me draw the diagonals here. See, diagonals, this is diagonal 1, this is diagonal to. If you observe this carefully, you can see this part of diagonal is equal to this part, and this part of diagonal is equal to this part. So although the diagonals are not equal, just like the parallelogram, but the diagonals bisect each other. Okay, this is another property of this type of a quadrilateral, what is called as rhombus. And number third additional property is there. Okay, then diagonals are perpendicular to each other. Okay, I will draw this, I will show this on with the help of diagram. Okay, diagonals are perpendicular to each other. Okay, so perpendicular to each other, right? See, I have redrawn this this rhombus. You can see here this diagonal. Okay, this is perpendicular to this diagonal. Okay, so all the angles here, they are 90 degree. Okay, so we can say that but diagonals are perpendicular to each other. Okay, we can see the diagonals bisect each other, and diagonals are we can see the diagonals are perpendicular bisect to each other, right? So this is additional property of the rhombus. Now let's move to another thing. Okay, now see, this is a type of quadrilateral what is called as a rectangle. Yes, okay, so this is a rectangle. So now we saw that we know that that every rectangle is a parallelogram, every rhombus is a parallelogram, right? Okay, now this is a rectangle. In rectangle, now you have already this studied the properties of a rectangle, okay, a minute ago, right? Okay, so we can see that this side is parallel to this side is also equal to this. All the angles are equal. Okay, so let's try to modify this. Okay, we modify with respect to the sides again. Okay, let's push these sides towards inner side. So what I get is the quadrilateral like this. Okay, so you know that what is this type of quadrilateral called as. So this is nothing but a square. So I got this square from rectangle, right? Okay, in a square, you can see that all sides are equal. This side is equal to this side is equal to this side. Okay, now since all the angles are, since we modified this rectangle into the square with respect to sides, so angles they won't vary. All the angles then will be equal to 90 degree. All the angles will be equal to 90 degree. Okay, let me take this type of this quadrilateral or parallelogram. So this is another type of, okay, that we discussed a little earlier. Okay, this is the quadrilateral what is called as rhombus. Okay, the properties of the rhombus, they were already discussed a minute earlier, right? Okay, this is a rhombus. Let me try to modify this rhombus with respect to its angles. Okay, what I do is to modify it as only angles, not sides. Okay, so what I will get is again a quadrilateral in which all the sides are equal, and that quadrilateral is called as square, right? So that means I get the square from both rectangle. When I modify the rectangle with respect to sides, I get the square. When I modify the rhombus with respect to its angles, okay, so I get the square. So what are the various properties of square? Let's try to understand the properties of a square. Number first is that each side is equal. Each side is equal, right? Is equal. This is first property of square. Okay, number second is each angle is 90 degree. Each angle is 90 degree. This is second property. And number third, diagonals bisect each other. Diagonals bisect each other. Okay, diagonals bisect each other. This is because in you can see that in rhombus diagonals bisect each other, in rectangle bisect each other, so as in square diagonals bisect each other. Okay, so number fourth is diagonals are equal. Diagonals are equal. Okay, so this property of square comes from the rectangle, not rhombus. Diagonals are equal. Okay, you can see that diagonals, okay, if you observe this, diagonals are equal, right? Diagonals are equal. This property of square comes from the rectangle. Okay, now number fifth is diagonals, they are perpendicular. Diagonals are perpendicular. Okay, perpendicular. Okay, this property of square comes from the rhombus. Okay, this diagonal, okay, you can see that in in a rhombus diagonals are perpendicular. Okay, but see, in this square diagonals are also perpendicular. So diagonals are perpendicular. This property of square comes from the rhombus, right? Okay, now we can see that we can conclude something very important, that every square is a rectangle, every square is a rhombus. Okay, and we know that every rectangle is a parallelogram, every rhombus is a parallelogram. So we can say that every square is a parallelogram. Since every rectangle and every rhombus is a parallelogram, we can say that every square is a parallelogram, right? But the reverse is not possible. Every rectangle is not a square, right? So we can say that every square is a rectangle, every square is a rhombus. Okay, since every rectangle, every rhombus is a parallelogram, we can say that every square is a parallelogram, right? Okay, then there is a next category of quadrilaterals, what are called as trapezium, right? Okay, so we classify the quadrilaterals based on the number of pairs of opposite sides which are parallel. Okay, so there are three categories. One is parallelogram, second category is trapezium, and third category is kite, right? That third category is, let's